good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are calling in from. My name is Eric Bowling. This is our monthly customer training webinar series offered through IPC Technologies to our customers, to our friends and family. Today we are going to be talking about cloud technologies and pathways to the cloud. It's kind of a fun buzzword to talk about. A little bit of housekeeping. You all have joined in listen-only mode. However, in your little side panel, there should be a place for you to ask questions. I'll be looking for those throughout the presentation, and we'll definitely address them towards the end of the presentation. We'll keep this to about 45-50 minutes of slides and discussion, and then we will leave the time available at the end for questions. We also are recording this, so check back on our website in a couple of days and you'll see a link to this recording. If you see something that you wanted to review or wanted to share with someone else in your organization, we offer these courses several times a month for all of our customers. So thanks for joining us today. All right, so today's session, we're going to talk about best path to the cloud. Okay, so it's a buzzword. People are using it to talk about how do we move to quote unquote the cloud. There are many technologies that are available for folks to move to the cloud, right? If you are an Office Outlook or an Office 365 user, you are already in the cloud, right? It is, you subscribe to an application that sits in a data center somewhere else that's managed through essentially a software subscription model where you pay a certain amount every month to have access to use that software. You use the software, right? You use it, you administer the software, kind of like Salesforce, right? Salesforce is another cloud solution. You used to build your own CRMs internal to your organization and run servers and those types of things. And now you outsource that to a cloud solution. So we want to acknowledge that there are many different areas that can be sort of pushed to the cloud and managed in this environment, this scenario. Today, we're going to talk primarily about unified communications. We're going to talk about your voice communications, your contact centers, your unified communications, voicemail, UC products, instant messaging, all the things that are part of a communication strategy internal to your organization. And we will also briefly touch on some contact center cloud offerings that discuss how you engage with your customers. Okay, so we acknowledge that the cloud has many different venues for technologies that can move to the cloud. Today will be primarily on unified communications. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This is a question we get all the time. How do I know? What should I move to the cloud? Okay, so if you're on this call, possibly you have been posed the question, hey, what do we do with the cloud? What's the benefit? What's the value? How do we get there? How do we assess whether or not we should move to the cloud or not? And honestly, I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know each of your individual specific stories, the strategic direction for your organization, your internal structures of how you support your existing solutions, your visibility into not your visibility, but your how you view future technologies and how you want to consume that technology. Many years ago, IPC Technologies said, you know what, we're not going to host an Exchange server anymore inside our data center. We are going to push that out. So we don't have that that server running. We don't have to keep it upgraded, and the Windows patches and the Windows updates and the VMware and the server hardware and those types of things. We sent that out, and now we just subscribe monthly to Office 365. So should you move to the cloud? I really don't know. But what I'd like to do is talk about an example that sort of frames it up in something that we all can understand, hopefully. Unless, I did meet a woman one time who lived in New York City and never owned a car and never mowed a single blade of grass her entire life. So maybe if that's you, I apologize that my analogy is maybe not relevant to you, but do you mow your own lawn? And the other question is, why do you mow your own lawn? So what we want to talk about real quickly is this. So this is my yard. That's my son, Luke. He is almost 15 years old. I have insourced my labor to my family. So I own that tractor and I mow my own yard. So just get that out of the way. That's my answer to the question. Do you mow your own yard? Now, the why of it is a little bit more complex. Why do I mow my own yard? Well, one, I've got labor to do it. I've got Luke, so he likes to do it. He wants to do it. He's a little bit more available than I am to do it. So especially these days with being at home. But there's other reasons. Okay, so let's flesh out the why. Okay, the why and the how are sort of interrelated in this story. I've got a data center, right? There's my data center for my lawn as a service, LAAS, lawn as a service. There's my data center. I've got a shed, right? That's where I store everything I need to have a green, short lawn. I do have, there's my server that runs the operations of my my lawn cutting service. So my lawnmower, nice Husqvarna there that I've purchased. So I do have that in my data center, which is my shed, okay? I go out frequently. I have to get gas for it, right? I got to change the oil once a season. In fact, I need to do that now. It's just a reminder. I need to write it down. And so I've got resources that I need to utilize and consistently update. This could be your cooling in your data center, it could be the power associated with it, it could be your circuits, it could be all the things that are associated with operating your servers in your data center. The other things I need to do some maintenance on the yard. So when I do cut my own yard, I got to buy bags. I got to buy rakes because I do rake my own yard. Now I do have a little bagger on the back of it, but inevitably the fall comes and I have to rake those leaves as well. So there's some day-to-day maintenance items associated with mowing your own yard. So I've got my data center, I've got my servers, I've got my resources, I've got my maintenance. Another thing here, this is my yard security. Got weed and feed and the lawn weed killer. I got a little bit of certain types of bugs in the yard sometimes that I need to put out some things that keep the bugs down. Now, for me personally, I have actually outsourced my lawn security. So I actually do have a service that comes and sprays 4 times a year. It sprays my fertilizer, sprays the weed killer that I need. And so while I do the first items, I do not do the weed and feed and the lawn spray. I have actually outsourced that. So you could say I'm a little bit of a hybrid. I'm an on-premise lawn provider as well as a little bit of hybrid because I've outsourced my security. Okay, so what this means is that I have invested, I bought a shed, I bought those servers, I'm responsible for the maintenance and the care of the equipment, of how it shows up and how my lawn gets cared for, a little bit of outsourcing, but I'm okay with that because I've insourced the labor. I kind of like to tinker. I grew up that way. I don't mind changing the oil in my lawnmower. I'm kind of crazy. I actually enjoy that type of stuff using my hands. Okay, so my next door neighbor, he has a nice green lawn, but he does not, he doesn't have all this. He has this. He has evergreen lawn service. He has a team of people that show up once a week in the growing season and once a month when it's not growing so much, and they come in and they bring all the gear and they clean it up and then they disappear, and they do it while he's not even there, right? He goes to work one morning, comes back and his lawn is cared for, and he pays these guys a little bit every month to make sure that they do that for him. All right. That's really a good analogy to determining how do you want to consume your communication services. Okay. How do you want to access the communications in your environment? It's not a technology decision, in my opinion. In most cases, I can mow my yard better than anybody, but I could also have a service to do it probably just as good, maybe after time, and I'm a good partner with them, and I communicate with them what my desires are, and I build that relationship. They'll get to the point where they care for my yard as well as I do. So the decision is, where do I want to spend my time? What are my resources that I have available to me, time and money, right? And how do I want to spend my time and money? So, just so that we define these things clearly and on-site, right? You own and operate your unified communications platform. You are responsible for the overall maintenance, upgrades, reliability, and security of those things. Now, many of you on the call do have warranty contracts with IPC. We thank you. We love our customers and our partners. And so we do some of those things for you, but ultimately when it's in your location, scheduling of those things and providing access and allowing us to come in and do that work, that is really, you own the decision-making process on those. When you buy something on site, typically there's an upfront purchase, right? And it's handled as a capital expense. You buy new phones, you expand to a new location. Hardware maybe gets out of date. You need to buy new hardware. Server, maybe your Windows 2008 server is no longer supported, so you need to migrate that over to a supported platform. So those are some of the things that are part of the joy of ownership, if you will. And when you have an on-site system, you sort of have to architect and design how you're going to support your remote workers. Over the last several months, IPC has spent a lot of time with our on-site premises-based customers, helping them navigate, putting in the right technologies to support our work from home mandates that a lot of us are still under. So it's something that has to be accounted for. It has to be part of the design, and you have to build for it. Okay, so in the cloud model, the applications are somewhere else. They're hosted remotely. You're not responsible for the upgrades and the server patches and those types of things. That's done by the cloud provider. Your services are paid monthly. They're not capital expenses, but they are operational expenses. And that's a key point that drive a lot of people to make the decision to move to cloud. It's not the technology. I can do anything on either side of this slide. I can deliver any technology on site that I can in the cloud, and vice versa. It mainly comes down to resources. How does my CFO want to spend his money? And how does my CIO want to use his resources internally for new technology initiatives and driving your business forward as technology changes and grows and enhances? I don't need somebody in the back room changing the oil. I need somebody in the front room deciding how we're going to handle this new customer interaction or these new technologies that are coming at us. So a lot of it is just sort of defining as an organization, how do you want to consume technology? Do you want to buy it, or do you want to rent it? Okay. And then in the cloud model, remote work is really inherent because everybody's remote, right? Our customers who have some cloud services through us, when they had to go home for 8 weeks here in Virginia, they just logged in from home through soft phones, or they were able to unplug the phone sitting on their desk and take it home and plug it in, and their office was moved. They were done. For our on-premises customers, many of you have technologies that allow you to extend the remote workers and that type of thing. But it was an exercise. You sort of had to account for it and manage it. In the cloud model, it just sort of works that way. So those are some of the differences. I just kind of want to define on-site versus cloud. Now, how do I make the jump from one to the other? So there are multiple. So let's assume, yes, we're going to go to the cloud. Let's just assume that question. So how do I decide what I move to, and how do we get there? So IPC has spent a lot of time. We help a lot of our customers move into the cloud model. It's a project management. There's some considerations that you have to take into account. But generally, right, if you're going to move to the cloud, the benefits are going to be the upfront expenses. You're not buying infrastructure. Maintenance is provided by the cloud provider, the backups, the OS upgrades, the software upgrades, those types of things. Accessibility is, the remote access, because everybody's remote, everybody has similar access. There are some advantages through integrations as well when you move to cloud-based technologies. Generally speaking, cloud providers are providing access to other cloud providers through open APIs, application programming interfaces. And those are the ways you get two software solutions to talk to each other. And because cloud systems were built from the ground up with this API and web services mindset, generally you're going to have easier integration between your cloud unified communications platform and your cloud CRM or accounting systems or what have you related to the items that you want to integrate with. So integrations are generally more inherently capable when you're in a cloud-based system. And then scalability, right? You don't have to worry about servers and adding sites and those types of things and licensing and networks and whatnot. The scalability in your cloud provider includes those things already. So public cloud, we view the cloud model. So let's say we've made the jump. Okay, we're premised today. We need to move to cloud. What are my options? Okay, so public cloud. Think of public cloud as you would an apartment building. Okay, all the apartments are generally the same, but there's shared resources in that apartment building. When the power grid in the apartment complex gets upgraded, everybody in the whole apartment gets that same upgrade. So the public cloud is like renting an apartment. Okay, private cloud is like renting a custom-built home, because remember, it's cloud, so we're renting, we're not owning. So that's the difference in CapEx and OpEx. But in a private cloud, you actually get your own custom-built environment. Your computing resources are exclusively yours. Your resources can be put into your data center or Google's data center or whatever cloud provider's data center that they're providing there. But the idea around a private cloud is that you maintain control of upgrades and feature enhancements, and you get a little bit better integration capabilities in a private cloud, right? A public cloud, all the apartments are the same. The kitchens look the same. The doors are the same. The layouts are the same. Everything's the same. In a private cloud solution, you have more customization capabilities. And some companies require that and others don't require that. Many people live in apartments just fine and that works great. But if you have specific needs that may drive you because you have some advanced integration capabilities or you have some more advanced compliance issues that you need to adhere to as an organization, sometimes a private cloud solution will provide those capabilities a little easier. And then a hybrid cloud is actually a combination of cloud-based and premises-based. So In full disclosure, IPC Technologies, we still have our Mitel system on site here in our data center. We do have redundancy built into that platform, but we are also utilizing in a hybrid fashion Mitel's new My Team Meetings, which is the video collaboration application that was recently launched by Mitel. So we are sort of a hybrid model. We have our phone services on our on-premise PBX, and however, we have a cloud service that is fully integrated for our video conferencing. It's our new My Team Meetings application. So we actually consume both. And the reasons for that are complex. If I didn't have all you great customers out there, I would be in the cloud. However, many of you, most of our customers are still on-premise customers. And so IPC has made the strategic decision. We will live with the solution that we mainly support for our customers. So as more of our customers are premise-based customers, we made the decision that says, you know what, we're going to live with the technology that we support for our customers. That way we can do our own upgrades, we can run the beta test programs, we can make sure that everything is ready to go when we upgrade your on-site system. So that was our strategic decision, and it's really our customers that drove that decision. If I didn't have you customers and I didn't have the support associated with the required activity that we do for you to support your organizations and your premise-based systems, no doubt in my mind, I would be in the cloud. So that's just a little personal assessment, and if you want to understand more about how we came to that decision, give me a call and we can chat about it. All right, so now we've talked about the public cloud, the private cloud. Hopefully that's clearing up some of the options out there. Public cloud is like an apartment building. Private cloud is like a private home that you're renting. The components, the things you need to take into consideration when you're moving from a premise-based system to a cloud-based system. So this is just kind of a quick list of the things that you're going to need to account for and consider in a project. The simple one is phone numbers. Who owns your existing phone numbers? What is the contract associated with those phone numbers? You don't have, I'm not saying that you're going to have to give up those contracts, but you need to know who has the phone numbers, who owns them, who do I pay for my phone numbers, and what is the contractual obligations my organization has, right? Some people purchase 3-year agreements with their voice carriers, and they're only a year into it. So they have a contractual commitment of 2 more years to maintain that contract. What is that contract? And I would go as far to say, what's the penalty for getting out of it if you have to? I'm not saying you do have to, because there are ways that you can bring your existing carrier into a cloud-based solution so that you can maintain your carrier relationship as well as achieve a new unified communications platform. But you need to understand where your organization sits with those contracts and who owns them. Right, the users that you have in your system, what are the features that are required for each of those users? Is everybody the same? Do I have advanced users? Do I have knowledge workers and specialists? Simple things like voicemail. Does everybody need voicemail? These are all things that you will want to assess in your organization to determine which is the best path that you're going to move down towards. Is it a public or a private cloud solution? Call flows, porting of numbers. If you're going to move your phone numbers to a new carrier, right, we want to talk about porting and timing of porting. If it's a different platform and it looks a little different, we need to talk about training. Who do you want to administer your system? In a public cloud, you can submit tickets and create users through a little bit more hands-off of administrative. In a private cloud, you have more control and the ability to create your own infrastructure. Remember, it's just the platform that's hosted. You still have the keys to the house and make the decision on who goes where. So these are some of the things that you will want to consider. Some more advanced considerations are, what are your contact center needs? Contact center is a very interesting technology right now, because you could just move your contact center to the cloud and leave your premise-based system intact. We have many customers that do that as well, where it doesn't have to be an all-premise or an all-cloud solution. There's some hybrid approaches there. So what are your contact center needs? Because generally speaking, I'm making some general assumptions here. Generally speaking, a public cloud contact center is going to be a little bit more fixed and not quite as adjustable, if you will, than a private cloud solution. A private cloud contact center, you will have the keys and much more availability for integrations and innovations and tying with other applications and creating some Google artificial intelligent hooks and using some of the neat things like that, which gets to some of the advanced applications. What are your mobility requirements? How many sites do you have? What connectivity do you expect to go from your building to the cloud provider? I use this analogy all the time. Connectivity can make or break a good experience. IPC has a history of doing network assessments for our customers, where maybe their internet connection isn't as fast or reliable as they originally thought it was. And so what you want to consider is, do I need to do some network assessments on the connectivity type into the cloud? Both solutions, you can provide private connectivity to the cloud provider, or you could do what's called over the top, OTT. Over the top is just out your internet connection is how I'm going to connect to everything. But let me tell you from experience that not all internet connections are created equal. The example I like to use is, you can buy a Ferrari, but if you drive that Ferrari on a dirt road, you're going to have a bad experience, okay? That is an analogy to connectivity. What is the connectivity between your sites and the cloud provider look like? Again, IPC has some tools that we use. We're a data company by heritage. We've about to enter in our 40th year of business. And so we have a long legacy of helping folks from a data perspective understand how to build a good road for your voice. Do not underestimate the importance of network assessments. So people tell me all the time, I got plenty of bandwidth, okay? That just means you've got a really wide dirt road potentially, all right? There are many other items that are critical to deliver a good voice call over an internet connection. Jitter, latency, packet loss, bandwidth is key, codecs that you use, hardware speeds, firewalls, routers, routing, all those things come into play when you are trying to build a good road for your voice over your internet. So make sure that that is a consideration that you plan well for. From a budget perspective, right? Have it done well. If you don't have the tools available in your tool bag to perform a voice readiness assessment on your internet connection, that's something that you will want to consider. Some other considerations is redundancy. Redundancy primarily around internet connections, right? Do I have multiple paths out of my building? What if that cable seeking backhoe chops my internet connection? Well, if everything's hosted in the cloud, you're not going to get anything. But that's the same problem you can have with a premise-based system. If that cable seeking backhoe chops that cable into your building, well, guess what? A lot of times voice and internet come in at the same location in your building. And if you're using the same provider and they have an outage, your PRI is going to go down, your SIP trunk's going to go down, your internet connection is going to go down. So the redundancy of network is really doesn't necessarily play into just the cloud model. It also impacts premises based as well. And this last word, trust, advanced considerations, trusting the provider, trusting your business partner that you want to help you go to the cloud. IPC kind of sits in the middle. We sit between the cloud providers and customers. And we do that because we need to translate how do we communicate between the two? How do we make sure your needs are fully understood when we're migrating into the cloud? And so what I encourage you to do is find somebody, if you're going to go to the cloud, find somebody like IPC to come in and help manage that process with you. Sometimes we get our customers who say, you know what, the guy on the phone said it was so easy, I'm just going to do it myself. And they just find out that they don't have enough time because they already got a job. There's language that's being used in a communications integration that they're just not used to. It's a different lexicon. There are things that people don't necessarily deal with every day like we do for our customers. And so having that sort of trusted advisor come alongside of you and help you through the process is something we highly recommend. I would say the customers who say, you know what, I'm doing it myself, more times than not, they call us back and say, hey, I need some help. Because this isn't quite what I expected. It's not complex, it's just familiarity with it. Anything's easy when you know what to do. And so you want to find somebody who knows what to do, when to do it, and how to navigate those things. Okay, so what we want to do now is talk about some actual products. So we are primarily, Mitel is our on-premise platform. We don't sell any other platforms other than Mitel for premise-based systems. And it is the majority of our cloud as well. We do offer a second public cloud offering in RingCentral. So MiCloud Connect and RingCentral are the public cloud offerings that IPC can bring to the table and help you navigate why you would do one versus the other. Not everybody's not the same, and some have strengths and weaknesses, and so we help you navigate those things from a standpoint of the public cloud. So again, public cloud, MiCloud Connect and RingCentral, right? They're multi-tenant. They're like the apartment buildings. They're shared services. Generally a hands-off approach from the provider, which is why you need somebody like IPC to sort of help you through that process. Customers get all the upgrades. You go home Friday, you come back Monday, you've been upgraded. You didn't really have a say in it. It's just what happened. It was the newest release. It came out. And some people like that. Some people don't want to have to worry about, hey, I always want the latest and greatest stuff. And if somebody else is doing that for me, that's great. But if you have some other complexities, some integrations that need to be tested before you upgrade and those types of things, that's where you might want to consider the private cloud. Today, for IPC, we really believe that MiCloud Flex is unique in the industry as a private cloud offering. It's recently announced. It's built on the Google Cloud Platform, although it actually has pieces and components that are in Google, pieces that are in AWS, and pieces that are in Azure. So it's cloudified with even the major cloud providers as well, delivering different types of service based on the strength of GCP from a compute standpoint, AWS from their development standpoint, and some items in Azure as well. So again, just to reiterate, MiCloud Connect and RingCentral are the public cloud offerings that IPC would recommend. And then if you want to consider a private-based, and we will help you navigate. You may be like, well, I don't know which one I want to consider. That's fine. And we help our customers understand the pros and cons of each of those. And sometimes there's a hard fast, you know what, I got to have this. And that takes you from public to private, end of discussion. It's a game changer. There's no negotiation with this one requirements. If that's the case, then sometimes that puts you into the flex deployment option. Okay, so it's a hands-on approach, right? Think of MiCloud Flex like an on-site PBX. It's just you're not going to have to worry with the data center and the shed and the lawnmower and the oil and the gas and the leaf raking and all those things. Somebody else is going to take care of all that for you. Okay, and it's a subscription model. You pay per month as you consume the licenses. So those are the products that we talk about. So let's start with the public cloud side. MiCloud Connect, RingCentral use cases, right? Sometimes people will say public cloud is generally for smaller and private cloud is for larger. That's not always the case. Maybe as a general rule of thumb, that that is one component of it, but there are very, very large public cloud solutions out there, 10,000 stations on a public cloud solution, but it's because they have 1,000 little retail stores around the country, each with 10 phones. It's sort of quick and fast and easy to get up and running and deploy. Maybe each of those sites have different budgets that they need to manage, so there's some constraints there. You want to be able to dial everybody, but it's a little more nimble in the public cloud perspective. So there's a large coffee, not Starbucks, but another large coffee shop that has a very, very large, thousands and thousands and thousands of public cloud handsets in all of their little coffee shops all over the world, and it's a large one. But it is a public cloud because of the way they need to deliver the service and the requirements. It just didn't mandate use of a private cloud solution. And then it's just nice. It's just like rent, right? It's just an operational expense for operating that facility. It just is a monthly charge, just like they pay their power bill and their internet bill and their rent and their phone bill. It's all just bundled in one operational expense every month. Nice and easy to track and manage, and usually just a fixed price. And because they're so disparate, right? They don't have IT people that go to each of these little coffee shops, right? They're just not set up for that. And so having on-site equipment in each of those just doesn't make sense. So that's sort of some examples of where a public cloud like MiCloud Connect or RingCentral would work in your organization. And they're feature rich. They have applications. We got really nice looking IP phones across all Mitel portfolios. The RingCentral ones, you have some different options that you can choose from, like Polycom or some other phones that you can utilize. But for the MiCloud Connect and the MiCloud Flex, they are Mitel phones, which in one point I can kind of see the advantage of a single provider owning from the handset all the way through to the end. So that complete end-to-end experience is all developed under a single provider under the Mitel. So that's one advantage of the Mitel product, is that they actually own their handsets. They own and manufacture their own handsets, and they're fully integrated into all the software that they provide. They all have contact center solutions. They all have collaboration suites. They have a desktop applications. There's a lot of native integrations that are built in, right? I've got a slide coming up here. They all have mobile applications, and they all have video meeting capabilities. So in a public cloud environment, right, you're not going to be limited by some of the cool new feature sets of collaboration and integrations and mobile apps and video meetings. They're just going to be more fixed than something that you could integrate and change and be a little bit more dynamic. Some of the native integrations sample, here's a sample of them, right? This came off of the MiCloud Connect native integrations list. So, right, you've got Google Chrome plugins, you've got a Salesforce plugin that you plug in, and you can click to dial and answer and make and receive calls right in Salesforce through the MiCloud Connect product, as well as RingCentral. It's got some Google integrations with the G Suite, lots of different other pre-built integrations that allow you just to kind of plug a module in and extend your communications platform to these other cloud-based providers. So you don't suffer from not being able to integrate with Salesforce, but the customization isn't quite as rich and robust as it would be in a private cloud solution, okay? All right, so MiCloud Flex. So now we're going to transition from the public cloud to the private cloud. MiCloud Flex is the private one built on Google. It's more about control, right? Control and customization. Built into built into the product is the ability that you control when software gets updated, when it gets refreshed and renewed, when the maintenance windows happens, right? If you want to have a say in when those releases happen, that's going to be more in a private cloud solution. If you have proprietary software, maybe you got some homegrown CRM that you've got access to via APIs, but it's more homegrown and needs to be customized. You're going to be better off using the MiCloud Flex product in the private to custom build those solutions. And then high availability, some great SLA performance for the core voice. Geo redundancy is just part of the Google infrastructure, so it just comes with the way that Google delivers on the cloud solution. Again, you get all the cool features with MiCloud Flex. You get telephony, collaboration, mobility, video conferencing. You get maybe some better business analytics. Sometimes reporting is a big deal. And I'm speaking generally here. Generally speaking, public cloud reporting is sort of fixed. You get what you get. You don't have a fit. That's what I told my kids when they were growing up. If you need some customizations, you need to pull data out. You have data warehousing. You have other requirements around customization of data. Moving to a private cloud solution will give you better access to business analytics and data and the ability to report. And again, that could be your business model. I'm working with a customer right now that has 100 contracts with 100 different organizations where he's providing contact center services for, and all 100 of them need a different report about his service. So he has full customization capabilities for his contact center to be able to generate those business reports in much more granularity than he would if he had a public cloud solution. There's some better integrations with MiCloud Flex with some of the other handsets, like the wireless DECT phones that you can put on site. You can have some remote survivable controllers as well with Flex, so create some local redundancy as a backup if you want to provide, that cable seeking backhoe chops that line. You can actually have local controllers with backup trunking associated with it as well. So it gives you a little bit better of a hybrid approach in the private cloud, a little more flexibility of architecture. And that last item there, you can actually bring your own carrier. So most public cloud solutions, you use their carrier. You use what they say to use as far as your phone numbers. You have to move your phone numbers to somebody else. In the MiCloud Flex product, because it's a custom built home, if you don't want to use the MiCloud Flex standard carrier, you can bring your own carrier and make that a part of your solution. So got one customer who had a premise-based system. They were 1 year into a 3-year SIP trunking contract. They liked the pricing they were getting. They liked the relationship they had with their SIP carrier. So we're migrating them to MiCloud Flex, and they're able to bring their own carrier into that product. And so, again, the flexibility of the private just increases with some of the nuances of where you are in your business and your unique requirements. So that bring your own carrier is a nice advantage there as well. The architecture, we can talk about the architecture. I just kind of want to show a quick glimpse of how Mitel has built out the Flex product. Right, it's containerized in Google Cloud. The Kubernetes engine, if you're any Google folks out there who like to speak that language, we can walk you through the bits and the bytes of it. So the core products are containerized in Google Cloud. AWS is used to deliver some of the other advanced applications like the My Team meetings. They also have a chat. They also do some neat performance analytics and business analytics through Microsoft. So that's kind of the core of the MiCloud Flex, how it looks under the hood, for those who want to see that. Mitel also has integrated with Google in their AI solutions. So because of the tight relationship with Mitel and Google, we're actually able to deliver on some of the AI and the conversational capabilities that Google is so famous for, of being able to process data and information and make sense of it. And so the ability to quickly add virtual agents and agent assist technologies is more along the private cloud side of this story. Now, in Mitel's hybrid approach, those solutions are also available to premise-based contact center users. So it's not just available to MiCloud Flex users in the private cloud, but it does facilitate that a little easier because you're already cloud ready and cloud enabled to flip on virtual agents and agent assist technologies. So that makes that entry into artificial intelligence maybe a little bit easier of a step as you are in the MiCloud Flex environment. Okay. It is 11:46, and I think I only have a couple here. So Cloud Contact Center as a Service, just do a little sneak peek. We're going to have a full-blown session in 2 weeks on supporting your customers when you have a scattered workforce. That is particularly around CCaaS or contact center as a service solution, cloud-based contact centers. We didn't really touch on that. We're going to go into much more depth in that in our next customer training webinar series in a couple of weeks. So you can check our website and see if you would like to register for that as well. Can just give you a real simple example. I like stories. I think they tell way more of what reality looks like. We have a customer who is a national customer with multiple Mitel systems. They even have some non-Mitel systems in some of their facilities, and they have centralized their contact center operations into a cloud contact center as a service. And so when all the states started mandating the shelter in place and teleworking and people were sent home, this customer really didn't have to do anything differently to support their customers because their contact center was already cloud enabled, cloud ready, cloud based. They simply went home and logged in and continued to receive through, they didn't need any hardware. There was no phone at home. It was just a headset plugged into their PC, and they were supporting and handling their customers without any disruption, whether they were at home or in the office. And so that's one of the advantages that we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks around the cloud contact center space, right? They have on-site phone systems in all of their facilities, but they have a cloud system that layers over top of it for their customer interactions. IPC, right? When the Virginia governor, so our primary customer service is operating out of Virginia. We have agents up and down the coast, primarily on the East Coast for customer support. Some of them already work out of their homes, but for IPC to move from a premise to work from home strategy, our customers didn't even know it. It was seamless. I don't believe any of our customers even knew that we weren't in the office anymore. We were all working from home, excuse me, because of the technology that we've implemented to be able to deliver those things. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about it. The product that IPC really has come to appreciate, and we study this industry all the time, and we look at who's new and who's up and coming, who's well funded, who's going to be in business in 3 or 5 years, who's got better stories, who is innovating, who is a continual innovator. And we've landed on TalkDesk, which is our preferred cloud contact center as a service provider. The story just gets better every time, every quarter. The story gets better and better from the availability of the applications that are available in a single platform for our customers who need a little bit higher touch for their contact center, want to support their customers with a little bit higher touch, voice, omni-channel analytics, speech recognition, artificial intelligence, workforce, lots of ability to create some dynamic, digitally transformed customer experiences. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, come back to us in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about that. Some of the key partnerships, again, we've talked about AWS, Google Clouds, or Microsoft Azure. So those are part of the private cloud offering. So one of the things I'm going to do here is I am going to look and see if we've got some questions. Man, you guys are a quiet group here. Got a good group of folks on here. Okay, here's a good question here we got. Just refreshed it here. Yes, it's good to see you again, Deepak. Minimum users phones needed to become Mitel Flex private cloud customer. Okay. Part of, so I'll, there is no minimum, but it's not from a price perspective. There are some sort of built-in infrastructure items that will generally make so if you got 5 to 10 users, right, you're going to spend more with MiCloud Flex because there's some infrastructure things, some Google platform things that get paid in addition to the licensing that generally make those a little bit more expensive. We want to drive the decision not on size, but on the requirements of application integrations and those types of things. So let's, I'll give you a call back and we'll kind of talk about those things. IPC has a 5-user demo MiCloud Flex system. So we were one of the first partners in the country to actually purchase our own environment in MiCloud Flex. Because we're a partner, we get some good breaks and stuff because we don't use it to use it, we use it to sell it and support it. So again, in that mantra of eating our own dog food, we want to have access and be running systems live on the systems that we support because we want to sort of experience firsthand what our customers experience, and that's just how we operate as a business. We don't sell stuff and forget it. We want to live with it and create a long-term partnership with you, which is why we've invested in sort of some demo environments that allow us to build up, break it down, bring in your data, try to see why stuff's not working right. Lots of different capabilities in our testing and development labs. The minimum users, don't really know if there's a minimum. If the requirement is there for integration, the requirement is there. So we'll follow back up with that specific question and go there. Okay, yeah, thanks for that follow-up. Let's see, so that was a good question. So I think what we'll do is we will, if there's no more questions, fire them in if you got something burning. We've got good attendance today, so I appreciate everybody being here. If you have questions about something you saw and said, hey, I see that it's a complex question. One, you sort of have to decide, are you going to move to the cloud, right? The first step is, should I stay or should I go now? And then after that, you sort of need to define, okay, am I a public cloud candidate or am I a private cloud candidate? And we will absolutely help you walk through those decisions. A public cloud, we got a couple options. Private cloud, I know there are some others out there, but the MiCloud Flex is just a great story with the partnership with Google, and I can explain why we think that in a personal meeting with you. But really do appreciate everybody's time today. It's 11:54, so there's no penalty for ending a meeting early. You can go head out to lunch 6 minutes early today. I wanted to thank you again for attending today. A reminder here, we've got supporting your customers with a scattered workforce on June 23rd. You can visit our website to register for that event. We're going to talk primarily about cloud contact center and what that actually means, how to deploy, what solutions and technologies are available. some really neat innovation capabilities that are just a subscription away. So everybody have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thank you for customers that are partnership with IPC. And oh, one last reminder: this is recorded and will be on our website if you want to share with someone else at a later time. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.